Hello and welcome to the No Gimmies podcast. Please do not adjust your screen. The handlebar mustache is not here to stay. It is for a Halloween costume. But if we're going to talk about Halloween costumes, we really need to talk about yours, Aaron, because you were quite the joker this past weekend. And you were talking about the Bulls and recorded a 5-second video that has haunted my dreams ever since I saw it. Did you have a great Halloween?
I had a phenomenal Halloween, my friend. Starting with the Bulls at that point, going 5-0 with a big win over the Knicks, which I think was kind of a validating win for the people that thought the Bulls had been kind of, not necessarily convincing in who they had been defeated up until that point, and the fact that they withstood a Knicks team that was up for it, and that they played good late, which was more important. And we'll get into the Bulls later, so we don't have to talk about it too much. But
No,
my
it's a
Halloween was
perfect segue.
yeah.
That's
But my
exactly what we want to talk about off the tip off anyway. We want to talk about two teams in the East, the one that's on your chest,
yeah.
your Chicago Bulls, and the Philadelphia 76ers, the two surprise darlings of the Eastern Conference. And they had an incredible comeback. The Bulls actually had an incredible comeback win over those Sixers just the other night. Big shot by
Vucci Main.
Elizabeth.
Yeah.
I'm coming home. Stacey King forever, by the way.
We now have Vucci Main and Boozy Vert, which not my rap favorites necessarily, but respect Stacey King for bringing in the younger crowd. And although I guess Gucci Mane's probably more like my age range at this point, but yeah, the Bulls have a huge comeback win in a matchup with the Sixers for who's the valid team in the East that has shocked the hell out of everybody.
Well, I mean, to be fair, it was an incredible game. It took a huge comeback by the Bulls in the fourth quarter to win that game at home. So to me, it validates both teams. The Sixers, played a pretty incredible game, all the way through. They allowed the Bulls on their home court to make this comeback. But to me, it was validating for both of them. So that is why that brings us to the question that I am posing here on the tip off, how we're going to start this podcast. Which one of these teams, their success that they've had early in the season, is more likely to be sustained over 82 games? Are you higher on the Bulls or the Sixers? I know you have a personal connection to your Bulls. They are your favorite team. They're on your chest at the moment. But which one of those teams do you believe in more?
Well, here's one of the nice things, because bias be damned, we now have receipts for how we felt about these teams going into the season. And I am not changing course by saying that I thought Chicago was the better team before and is the better team right now in terms of that question, not so much just in the obviously the outcome of that action. And you make a great point in terms of both teams played well, and Philadelphia doing what they did on the road. But I think that what the Bulls are doing is more sustainable for a multitude of reasons. The top being the Sixers are doing the things that concern me the most about what they're going to look like as a full season team. For anybody who heard my jaunt, tirade, overture, whatever you may like to call it, one of my biggest concerns with the Sixers was health. Look, we're going to be talking about that all season no matter what. And defense. Now, additional to that, health is going to be inextricably linked to the fact that Nick Nurse cannot help himself but overplay his players. Tyrese Maxey and VJ Edgecombe, I think, are averaging 52 minutes a game each. Right now, he's literally just playing them as much as they possibly can. That's not sustainable, particularly with Edgecombe.
That's never gone poorly ever, Aaron.
Especially not in Philadelphia, right? Like, he hasn't run Tyrese Maxey into the ground twice in 2 seasons.
Yeah. Well, at least one of them is not. Neither one of them is 260 pounds and has a litany of knee problems. So
Yes, exactly. And Embiid was okay in that game. That's kind of a separate thing. We can get more into that. Just my biggest concern with the Sixers in this very moment, separate of kind of the meta stuff, just the micro stuff that we're talking about right now. VJ Edgecombe is awesome. Like, that's undeniable, right?
Absolutely.
been the best rookie, came on the scenes like effing gangbusters. VJ Edgecombe is a workhorse. He's in phenomenal shape. You're overloading a body that has never had to go through the rigors of an NBA season this badly, this early. There's no way this ends well if it continues. I just can't see it.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not trying to make this an Oklahoma City conversation, but when Chet Holmgren played his first season after the Lisfranc fracture, he played all 82 games and then he played 10 playoff games. And he said afterward, I have no idea how Mikal Bridges does this. I'm exhausted. He played 92 straight games, and that was his first time ever doing that. So to your point, VJ Edgecombe has never played more than 35 games in a season, and he's about to go through the rigors of an NBA season. I do want to pull it back just a little bit for the maybe the newer listeners of the show or the people that are not familiar. We did do over the summer, we picked the wins and losses for every NBA team. And you and I actually had a wide variance on both of these teams, wide and being general here. We're only talking a few games.
And especially within the context of how close we were on most of these things,
Right.
that was like a chasm. Delta has been a really fun term bandied about lately in terms in basketball parlance. We had a delta.
Yeah. Well, I was going to point out that I had the Bulls projected at 37 and 45, and you had the Bulls at 42 and 40. And then if you look at the Sixers, I had the Sixers at 41 and 41, and you had them at 37 and 45. So I mean, again, we're close, but we're 4 to 5 games difference here, which is a big swing as far as seeding and all those things go. But it's also just speaking to how confident we felt about these teams. I kind of saw the Bulls as being this being just another year where they flirt with the 7, 8, 9, 10 area. And the reason that I think, if I remember correctly, the reason I said something about the Sixers, about them having such a better record, is because they have no choice because of the money that they have sunk into Joel Embiid and Paul George. Embiid can only really play on the offensive side of the ball. He cannot jump. He does not rim protect the way he used to anymore. Paul George is yet to play. But I said that because they have all this money tied up in them and they don't really have access to a lot of their picks, they really don't have a choice but to play competitive basketball. Now, we didn't know that it was going to be, you've got, Tyrese Maxey is almost 34 points a game with 8.5 assists. He's shooting like 49% from the field. He's been awesome. He's the fastest guy on every court that he steps on. You just can't stay in front of him. Edgecombe has been a revelation, as we've already discussed. They, still haven't really seen the full Jared McCain experience. I mean, we
haven't seen any of the Jared McCain
well, that's what I'm
experience,
saying.
unfortunately.
We still haven't gotten that yet. But he's going to be a 6 man off the bench for them, and I think that's going to be a huge weapon for them. Also, big shout out to Kelly Oubre. He's been fantastic, actually, sliding into that spot.
So I don't know if he's still going by Wave Poppy anymore because now he's changed his hair to be enigmatic of this or emblematic, of this fire that burns within, apparently. So I don't know if we need to come up with a new nickname. That's what they said on the broadcast when I was watching the Sixers recently. But in fairness to Oubre, he's been really good for about 3 seasons now in a way that 3 seasons isn't even fair. It's been about the last 5 years since he kind of revamped himself in Golden State. That's 6 seasons now when I look back. He's been a very productive player, but the thing that I like about him that changed is he plays within himself in a brand of basketball that wasn't the case when he entered the league. And now that happens with a lot of guys, right? Like water finds its level. You have to figure out who you are within kind of the structures, especially when these guys are so awesome at every level, and then you get humbled at the NBA level. But he's like this additive player that's a notch below role player. He likes being physical, which is funny for his frame and build, but he loves big boying people in the post. He's a really good offensive rebounder. He's been awesome for them. For those that aren't aware, as of right now, Fire Poppy, maybe, 19 points per game. He's shooting 52% from the field, 44 from 3. That, those percentages are going to go down. There's going to be a return to mean, but this is very easily one
These
of
are
the
all
best.
career highs for him, by the way.
Yeah, and if you
And
constitute him as like a fourth or fifth best player, which is what his role should be on this roster, that's a phenomenal player
yeah,
and for that kind of role. Now, if he has to scale up like last year, where now he's got to be your second or third best player, there's it's a different conversation. But to your point, Fire Poppy, that final answer, that's what we're calling him. He's been dope.
well, and he's also averaging a career high in 3-point attempts. He's at almost 6 a game at 44%. This isn't really like it's a small sample size in the number of games, but it's not like he's shooting 3 or 4 attempts a game.
Yeah.
So I really do appreciate, and like you said, the physicality has been really impressive. I was watching the Magic Sixers game the other night, and I think I texted you about this. I was really upset with Paolo Banchero because the
There's a
possession.
line forming of people who have said that sentence this season, by the way, but
Absolutely.
keep
But
going.
he comes down the floor. He dribble, 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 more dribbling, takes a contested step back two. Kelly Oubre grabs the rebound, goes down the floor. I don't remember who was in front of him. It might, I can't remember who it was. He puts a shoulder into their chest. Maybe it was Anthony Black or something like that, but puts a shoulder into their chest, gets to the basket, draws the contact, gets the foul, and won. And I was like, that's what Paolo Banchero, who's 6'10" and probably has a good 30, 40 pounds on Oubre, should be doing. But he's taking contested step back twos, and Oubre is finding the rhythm within the game, wasn't forcing it, was just surveying, found the lane, drove, and made this really nice shot, got their team a bucket, and got into the free throw line. I just really appreciate what he's been doing. He's been fantastic. Now, the Chicago Bulls. Let's talk about your Bulls for a minute. Josh Giddey, worth every penny of this contract extension so far. 4 years, $100 million in the offseason. I'm sorry, I was looking at the trade machine stuff earlier. Here's Giddey's numbers because it's
I
been
think he's
impressive.
at like 23, 12, and like, no, 12 seems too high.
23, 10, and 9
There we
is
go.
where
Yeah.
he's at. Yeah,
Yeah.
23, 10, and 9, career high in 3-point percentage, career high in PER, career high in usage rate, career highs across the board. To his point, he's shooting 42% from three on 4.4 attempts per game. If that is sustainable, that makes Josh Giddey so much more dangerous. But the thing that I'm loving about Giddey the most, he's getting almost twice as many free throw attempts per year as he did last year. He was at 3.2 last year. He's at 6.3 this year. That is a part of his game that I was always so frustrated with him about because he is 6'8". And he
Yeah.
does like to lower the shoulder on fast breaks and kind of use his body and his physicality to create space from defenders. And he does a little floater thing or a little off the glass touch, a little push shot. All of that is very effective. Him getting to the free throw line adds another level to his game and obviously extending the floor with his 3-point range. If that is sustainable, Josh Giddey, that's a great player in the NBA. 23, 10, and 9. There's very few people doing what he's doing right now.
The first part that we need, or the first part that you mentioned, is the biggest element in the change of his game, which is the sustainability now of the 3-point shot. Because we're looking at no longer a small sample size. This is a year plus of him shooting the three ball well, shooting it confidently, shooting
Yep.
it in scenarios that you don't expect. I mean, he's coming down and pulling up off the dribble on fast break, shooting threes if teams give it to him, which in turn opens that drive game. And I have a theory. He learned a lot of that from Kobe White, who was another player who obviously he entered the league as a shooter that couldn't drive. Giddey entered as a player that wasn't really using the shot to create the drive. And Kobe White got so good at that last season. And now we're seeing the exact same thing from Giddey, where it's like that threat of a 3-point shot, even if in Giddey's case, opposed to White, it's so much more minimal, is enough to create that little bit of advantage and opportunity when people have to fly out. He's going to the rim. Now, the Bulls playing the fast-paced style of basketball that they're playing is a big part of this too, because Giddey's getting out in transition and pushing the ball up and down the court like a madman. But look, I was not a Josh Giddey guy last season. I became a convert in the second half of the year, but still had a lot of questions. At this point, he's answered everything that we can ask. Even defensively, he's been better. He's not good, but he's
Yeah,
not just such.
I think his peak is being above average because he's got size, but I
I
don't think
don't.
he's just average right now. But that's fine.
Yeah.
That's what they
I,
need from him.
I think because of the limitations, and I mentioned this in the top 100, he's got terrible hips in terms of swivel, and he
Mm.
doesn't really move. He moves his feet well, but he doesn't move his feet well within tight space. And those limitations defensively, I think, are always going to stifle him in a certain way because he's not. He's a great athlete for his size, but he's not an electric or explosive athlete. There's just not fast twitch there. So lateral stuff is always going to give him problems. And when he gets kind of put on an island, that all being said, look, you're a point guard that's big, you're smart. All these guards that have kind of the athletic limitations usually find ways to weaponize their hands. Tyrese Halliburton got much better about that. Josh Giddey, I think, will get much better about that. The other thing about the Bulls is just the depth has been phenomenal. I believe they have 7 players averaging double figures right now. Six players in double figures with Jalen Smith at 9.1 himself. You know, they had a game last week where 8 guys went over double figures in a game. And it's kind of this, it's not even just next man up. It's everybody. There's this buy-in that you can tell. Like all these guys are enjoying playing with each other. They're enjoying the brand of basketball they're playing. It's very decentralized in terms of, look, I still have an issue with the concept if you can win a title without a superstar. That's not going to happen. This Bulls team is not a championship roster, but what they are is a fun bunch that all plays for each other because there's not that singular guy. Even though Giddey is their star right now, on a night-to-night basis, it's who's got the hot hand, who's doing business and work. Buzelis, Vucci Main. It's just Io has been a revelation. Not surprising.
I love Io DeSumo. You know this.
Yeah, he's such an amazing Swiss Army knife guy. The vibes are effing immaculate, as the kids would say. And look, this isn't sustainable as a 6-1 team. But obviously, I was higher than most people. I had them over 500. I didn't understand why people were as low on them as they were, and it's for a lot of the reasons of what we're seeing. They play a brand of basketball that is unique enough in itself that it forces other teams to have to adjust what they're doing. And if the Bulls can put you into their brand, if you're going to have to accelerate your pace, if you're going to play what they're doing, now they have a leg up.
So what is your answer? Which one of these is the Bulls? Do you think they're more sustainable over the course of the season?
Even if I didn't have all the concerns I have about the Sixers in terms of injuries that are inevitably going to pop up, because Joel Embiid still, it doesn't look like he's working himself back into shape to me. It looks like he's working around a lot of physical discomfort, and I don't know what goes away with that. We know Paul George is going to be a problem. Even if we flatten all that, I would still say the Bulls, just because I like how they play as a sustainable style of play. Like the Sixers are not very good defensively right now. The Bulls have actually been pretty good defensively.
Yeah, I'm going to point that out. The Bulls are 11th in defensive rating. They're 8th in offensive rating. The Sixers are 2nd in offensive rating, but they are 21st in defensive rating.
And I mean, you could argue that Paul George adds to their defensive personnel, but I don't think he adds enough to change that very much. And they have issues in the interior. Andre Drummond he can still rebound like a madman, but with Drummond and Joel Embiid as your bigs, now obviously Bona's been playing well for them just kind of as like an energy guy, but I think teams are going to be able to constantly put pressure on the rim just by making those guys have to function in space and rotate and move because they're so slow in those type of situations. And so the Sixers are going to continue to have problems on that defensive side. And some of the offense, look, Tyrese Maxey has been amazing. He's not going to average this many points, for the rest of the season. Now you get the bump from McCain, but VJ Edgecombe's going to have a little bit of he's a rookie. This isn't normalized. So I just think one team feels like they're really riding a hot start, and the other team feels like this is what we saw for 20 games to finish last year, and this is more a continuation of what we already had seen. And there's a little bit of a difference for me just in that being sustainable.
Sure. I think that's going to be my answer too, is the Bulls, but I did pick the Sixers and to finish with a higher record. So it feels like I should probably stick with that, although I don't think that this level of success, I don't believe that they're going to be able to be this good. We're talking 6-1, 5-2 good, and we both have them around 500. So I think it's going to level themselves off. I don't think the Bulls are going to remain. I think they'll be a top 15 defense, but I don't think they're going to be top 10. I think they're going to be in that 11 to 15 range where they are right now. And I don't know if the offense is sustainable. If Buzelis keeps making this leap, he's averaging about 15 a game, shooting 42% from three. maybe if he can get himself up to 18, 20 points a game sustainably for an entire year, who's to say? Maybe their offense is top 10. But I expected that to kind of level off as well.
Here's a spicy one for you, though. I got a question for you. Does Chicago try to move Kobe White at the trade deadline, considering how they're playing right now, what it looks like they're going to have to pay him, and what they can probably get for a player that is a fringe all-star level player on an expiring contract?
It's that part, the part where the Bulls don't want to spend money. That's the part that I'm going to hang my hat on, which makes me think they might do that. I don't think that they should because Kobe White's been so good for them. Just because they're playing well without him doesn't mean that they, can't incorporate him back in. His scoring punch is obviously huge, but yeah, he's a liability defensively. And if he doesn't make sense for what the team is doing overall, I could see him getting moved. And there's a lot of people that could use the services of Kobe White. So yeah, I could see it. Absolutely.
The Orlando Magic immediately come to mind. I wonder if there's something that could be worked out. Now, that's more money than the Magic can take on, but I'd be interested.
If they have no assets, they gave them all up for Bain.
Yeah, I want to make something very clear for anybody out there. I love Kobe White. Sub-Zero is one of my favorite players in the league. I think the leaps he's taken has been amazing. I've heard nothing but good things about him as a personality. And so I very much hope that the Bulls keep him and try to see what this can be with that combination of players. I'm just interested for the exact reasons that you stated.
I'm trying to think of a good one, but all of them are going to upset you. Like places that Kobe White could go because the players that are going to come back. I don't think you're going to get a player of his caliber coming back to you. So it's like,
no, but if you're
does Phoenix make a run at a guy that they need a point guard like that?
I think Phoenix is too guard heavy, and I don't think that.
They have two guys that don't make sense next to each other with Jalen. I mean, they haven't played together yet, but I'm saying they have overlapping skills with Jalen Green and Devin Booker. But if he's an actual true point guard, which they've been missing in Phoenix since since Chris Paul was there, that's the kind of guard that they're missing.
What about okay, so look, the Bulls, what they need to continue to focus on, right, is maintaining the good vibes, defensive kind of structure. What about somebody like Houston? Like Dodo, Reed Shepherd, and maybe another, a first round pick or something for Kobe White. Like, doesn't that make a little sense for both teams?
It does. Do you think that Ime Udoka would enjoy somebody like Kobe White on his team?
So first of all, Kobe's not a bad defensive player. He's just an okay defensive player.
I just think he's undersized and he gets abused a little bit, but they got a lot of size on that team.
So what's funny though is, part of it is his hair, but Kobe is a bigger guard than people realize. He's about 6'4.5".
Okay.
Yeah.
He's a little bit of that.
Yeah. And if he's playing point guard in their system, he's more than big enough for what they need. And defensively, he's a significant upgrade against the guy in Shepherd who can't stay on the floor because of how bad he is defensively.
100% true. And I think Reed Shepherd would really slot in nicely off the bench for the Bulls. I think he would finally find a place where that would be a place I think he would be very happy. Yes, that's definitely an idea. And I'm sure that the Rockets they're keeping an eye on that. Speaking of point guards that might be on the move, let's move to the vibe check where the vibes in Memphis are very bad at the moment.
What is the opposite of immaculate? They are filthy as they are the dive bar on 3 a.m. on a Saturday. That's the vibes in Memphis right now. Like a rock and roll dive bar that just went through it.
The vibe is like somebody just wrecked their car out front. And everyone's just stopped to take a look at what's going on. And immediately all the conversations have ended and no one's having fun anymore because they have to go make sure somebody's not dead or dying in the street. That's the vibe. Ja Morant recently off his suspension with Isolo, his new coach, who apparently he and him, Ja Morant and Isolo do not have a good connection going on right now. Ja Morant speaking post game after I saw your animal creep into your.
Well, and one of them just spazzed out. I apologize. Anyways, we'll keep that in. But they knocked the door open, and now they're wiling out in here. Okay, keep going.
Just here. Let's see what's going on.
Back to Tuomas Isolo.
They want to talk about Ja Morant as well. Your animals. Post game, very uncomfortable conversation with the media, sitting at his locker, basically saying, what they thought they could fix, and he was like, "Well, if it was up to them, I probably wouldn't be out there." Not great, not great. So you want to talk about a guy I couldn't really find a place for? Before you and I got onto this podcast, I was sitting here playing around with the trade machine for Ja Morant, who's making 39 million this year, 42 million. I think he's extension eligible. So this is, we
Yeah,
have
but
to
he's
decide.
got a third year on that deal too, if
But
I remember
I think
correctly.
next year is when
That
he'll be extension eligible because it's
no,
always
no,
a
he could have. Part of what may be the issue right now is he was extension eligible this summer, but Memphis
oh
had no mechanism to do that because of the money they had to spend on Jaren Jackson and where they
yes.
were already capped, so they
Well,
weren't going to
and
do
then
that
also they
anyways.
might just be reevaluating what he is as a player, what his value is.
Well, but
They're
all of
having
those have to enter into kind of the milieu of maybe what's at the foundation of this, right? Because the coaching thing, fine. Like Tuomas was an assistant there last year, but Ja was in a funk all season last year because of the offense he couldn't stand, which is now thriving in Miami with
Yeah, well,
Noah.
they're also not doing that. He's running more pick and roll possessions this year than almost anybody else in the league.
Yeah, well, the
He like
coaching change at the end of the year last year was supposedly because of the offensive issues that Ja had.
absolutely.
Now, some of the stuff that I've read and seen, Ja may have a problem with the fact that they are running as much as they are because that is also facilitating a lot of substitution patterns that he has a problem with. But this, all this speculation and the fact that we've been doing this for 3 years with Ja, to me, is actually much more relevant to the conversation of Ja because we keep asking the same question over and over again now. What is wrong with Ja? And it's not an external issue. That's just the main focus of this. He seems to be a malcontent on repeat now in Memphis.
Yeah, I mean the vibes there are bad not just for him but for the entire team. They're bottom 10 in both offensive and defensive rating. He has not improved his game at all. He hasn't gotten better shooter. If anything, he's gotten worse. He's a worse shooter. He's worse at finishing at the rim. He's getting to the free throw line less. We had this conversation about Ja Morant last year, and he blamed it on the coaching staff and the offensive schemes that they were running. Those schemes aren't there anymore. So they has a brand new coach who's running the kind of offensive system that he likes. So that can't be the complaint. So basically, he got told in front of everybody during a halftime that he wasn't doing enough for the team. I don't know exactly what was said. No one knows what was said except for the people who were in that locker room. But everyone did say in the second half of that game, Ja Morant went and parked his ass in the corner and sat there and sulked and didn't move. So, the backdoor cuts that Ja's really good at, he wasn't making those. The speed, the on-ball stuff where he's getting around defenders and trying to get to the basket, he wasn't doing that. So what use is Ja Morant if he's just going to stand in the corner and pout? He can't shoot from there, so we already know that. So he's got a problem with the way that he's being used, but the team has a problem because he's not the player he seems to think that he is. There's been a lot of players where in the last couple of years when Ja Morant was in 2022, 2023, as he's ascending as a player and people are starting to know his name and talk about him as if he's a top 5 point guard in the NBA. How many guards have passed him since then? Tyrese Halliburton, Jalen Brunson, like guards that have just like. Let me ask you this, and I'm being dead serious when I ask this. Would you want Tyler Hero or Ja Morant right now?
Oh, I mean, it's got to be Hero.
Yeah, he's
Yeah,
playing better. He's playing a better version of what Ja Morant can't do. Now, Ja Morant's, he's more physical, but he doesn't play defense. He's bigger. He doesn't play better defense than Tyler Hero does. He
I
certainly
mean,
doesn't shoot it better than he does.
he plays better defense than Tyler Hero does, but we don't need
Marginally.
to act like we don't need to act like that's some massive jump because uh they're both subpar defenders. When
That part,
Ja's
yeah,
engaged,
absolutely.
he there's things that Ja can do defensively that a Hero can't when Ja
When is
is
he
engaged.
engaged?
Well, I know, and that's the
I asked
crux
you
of
this
this thing.
too. I asked you this, when we were texting about this. Has Ja ever shown that he is willing to be coached?
I don't know that it's I he and Taylor Hendricks seemed to have a good working relationship for a while, and I
They
think
did.
that at that point the answer was probably yes. So I don't want to
And
bury
was
him and
he
act like he's
listening to them whenever he had the off-court issues? Because they literally had a team. They had a team meeting in Denver where Steven Adams got in front of the team and he said, "Hey guys, like we got to be focused on basketball, not doing this dumb stuff, not going out. We need to work together as a team, and we need to be more focused on the task at hand." And what did Ja Morant do that night? He was at a strip club at 4 a.m. throwing money around on Instagram Live.
I mean, we're talking about in Denver, right? Because don't forget the gun.
Well, and the gun.
Yeah, like the strip club and the money was the smallest of the concerns. He was probably not the only player indulging in that kind of frivolity, but the weapon was kind of.
That's a whole different can of worms. I really wasn't going to try and open.
But I mean,
That's
I think that if we're talking
way
about,
that I cannot explain.
we need to comport ourselves professionally, act like men that are serious about this, and then that's your response in the
That's
actual
his
moment.
response
Yeah.
to a veteran on his team having a players only meeting saying like, we're not focused on the game right now. And he's like, I cannot wait to get out of here and get to the club.
He's like,
so I can pull a gun out on Instagram Live.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, and so all these people are talking about trading Ja Morant. Do you think Eric Spoelstra wants that headache? Do you think?
I think that we are still at a point with Ja as a talent, much like the Jimmy Butler conversation, that whatever we think in terms of how organizations are viewing the headache, there are still probably enough people that can convince themselves we can corral this, we can do this, because as of right now, particularly separate of the Jimmy Butler situation, you can treat this almost like a siloed thing, right? Like Ja has problems in Memphis, and maybe this is because of when he matured in Memphis or did not mature in Memphis, however you want to say it. I don't think that Eric Spoelstra wants his headache, but I do also think that if you're the Heat right now, and you, let's say it was a Tyler Hero for Ja Morant trade, Ja Morant makes a hell of a lot more sense for the style of basketball that the Heat are playing right now. So if there are still those other elements.
Floor spacing concerns me.
No, but that's not what the Heat are trying to do. They want to push the ball like crazy, and that's not what Hero does. Ja will do that for you. Yeah.
But they also, but like if you're running out of line, I mean, I love that Bam is taking more threes. I love that like they got Jovic, they've got Khalil Ware, they've got Norman Powell, they've got shooters.
Well, particularly, but I know what you're about to do. Let's look at the starting five. If you take Davion Mitchell out of it and you put Ja Morant into it, the shooting trade-off is not that significant, but all the other things scale up.
Hero out of it.
But Hero's not in the lineup right now. That's my point. So, and when Hero comes back in, they are not going to be able to play as fast because Tyler Hero doesn't play as fast. Ja Morant can play as fast. I'm just saying that those are the conversations. Yeah, those are the conversations that would be had. And so I do think, look, Miami, New Orleans, if Minnesota could somehow make something work, but they probably can't. The Sacramento thing is
it makes me so sad.
The fact that all of us are just like, yeah, this feels like the end game.
Oh,
right?
no.
Like, this is
like that's where that would be a real eye opener for Ja Morant if anything ever was to be like, hey man, this is where we're sending you, and this is who you're on a team with, and he's like, you just look around that landscape and be like, wow, the grass really ain't greener.
Yeah, yes. I don't know that Ja's ability to evaluate basketball situations is the best no matter what. So could he go to Sacramento and be like, we're about to be a top 5 seed? Yeah, sure. Well,
yeah,
like, I've got 3 Hall of Famers around me. It's like,
I feel like the club scene's really hard for him though in the California's capital.
Hey, look, you're only an hour and a half away from the strip clubs in San Francisco, and they are some pretty decent ones. And look, I don't know if you've ever had breakfast at the Gold Club, but it has a line around the door for it. So maybe, that Ja might really like some fried chicken and eggs in the morning.
I'm sorry, the New Orleans one would make me sadder. I don't really care. I mean, at least with the Kings, I see them putting in effort, and they're trying to win basketball. Well, to be fair, the Pelicans have won. They beat the Hornets and the Mavericks. 2 of the worst.
Pelicans are on a winning streak. They won 2 straight.
I'm still of the major league definition of a streak. You got to get 3 for it to be a streak. 2 don't count.
Yeah, 2 is a circumstance.
for Phoenix, I mean, I'm sorry, for the Pelicans, 2 wins it might as well be 25.
Well, and I love that they're beating two of the other worst teams in the league right now. Sorry to my Mavs fans out there, but we'll talk about them a little bit more later.
Yes, we
And they beat the Mavs and the Hornets, who of course are depleted by injury once again, because that just seems to be what
Zion.
these guys are.
Yep,
They beat it by a combined 6 points, and it came down to the last play, I think, in both games. Like it was not demonstrative by any
No, it was
stretch.
not. But
Hey,
anyway,
can we just talk about the Willie Green attempt to get himself fired?
you
You
can't
challenge.
let's kill the jaw segment. Let's move on from the vibe check, and then we can get the 3 up, 3 down, because I'm positive the Pelicans are in your 3 up, 3 down, and they're in mine as well. So let's just get to that. But let me just ask you before we end it: gun to your head, does Ja Morant finish this season?
Phrasing.
Sorry, it was on purpose.
Yeah.
Does Ja Morant's gun to your head?
Bazooka to my head.
Is he in Memphis by the end of the year?
Woo. Yes.
I think he is too. I don't think they move on from him because he is beloved in Memphis. But it's fun to think about like the trade ideas, but I don't think he's really on the move.
I also just think at the end of the day, Ja Morant is such a deflated asset right now that who's the team? Well, and who's the team that's going to take on or even be able to finagle the things because of all the restrictions we've talked about financially?
It's got to be someone desperate.
Well, and it's got to be somebody whose restrictions aren't going to be so onerous that they can't make the deal. And so, like, when we're talking about
teams have that. I mean, very few teams have cap space, and we saw how conservative they were with that cap space. The Bulls were reluctant to re-sign Josh Giddey, just for a reminder.
Yeah, that looks bad.
Yeah, it looks bad in hindsight, but yeah, they were real reluctant to give him $25 million a year.
Hey, but you know what? They gave Trey Jones that bag, and I questioned it, and I was wrong.
Yeah, and you know what? And the Sixers are glad they have Quentin Grimes as well. I'm not sure the Nets are very happy about Cam Thomas, but that's the mixed bag that you get with qualifying offers and all that fun stuff.
I mean, at $6 million a year, I think the Nets are perfectly happy with Cam Thomas because at that point, you're paying half of you have bench players who are making more money than Cam Thomas who are not really even seeing the floor, right? Like, Terrence Mann is making 2.5 times as much as Cam Thomas. So the Nets are fine there. But yeah.
Yeah. All right. Moving on. That was the vibe check. We checked in on Ja Morant. Wishing him and the Memphis Grizzlies the best, but we'll have to monitor that situation to see if he ends up back in that same vibe check here in a couple of weeks. All right. It's time to do 3 up, 3 down. Do you want to start us off?
Yeah. Do we want to start positive or negative?
And end positive, because we didn't do it that way last time, and it made me very sad.
Since we kind of already gave the little feed for it, I'm going to start with the Dallas Mavericks and what has become a woeful situation to watch offensively. And for those that didn't listen to us, I picked the under on the Mavs because I was really concerned about what the guard play was going to look like.
I'm gonna keep talking. I'm gonna find those. Numbers. I forgot where they are. Oh, here they are. Oh yeah. You had him 34 and 48. I had him at 40 and 42.
Yeah. Feeling really good about that right now. Let's get into the numbers. They're 26th in field goal percentage. They're 28th in assists per games. They're 26th in point differential. They're 28th in true shooting percentage. They're dead last in offensive rating by 2.5 points over the Washington Wizards. But hey, they're 5th in defensive rating, so they've got that going for them. And the thing that is really so concerning is they're dead last in opponents' points per game. Now, I understand that's because Gafford, Lively, and Davis have missed lots of games. Guess what? That's the reality of those guys. Your defense, particularly interior defense, was supposed to be the greatest strength of this roster. And the fact that you also don't have a real stout point of attack defender beyond PJ Washington, who I really like, but just has to be over leveraged for all the things he has to do. Like, this situation is ugly. Like, it's ugly on the floor. It's ugly when you get in. And like, quantitatively, qualitatively, whatever you want to measure it by, it's gross. And I feel bad because I love my Mavericks fans out there, but I saw this coming a mile away.
If we want to talk about ugly, Klay Thompson, thank
Oh, my
God he's
guy.
winning outs off the court with Megan the Stallion, because on the
Not
court,
ugly there.
it ain't ugly there. It couldn't be prettier. But he is averaging less than 9 points a game on 34% from the field and 29% from three. He was recently removed from the starting lineup. He left the court in complete frustration and anger. Cooper Flag being misused as a point guard, and your only other option until Kyrie Irving comes back is D'Angelo Russell. All of these things should have been held to account. And I think I was just persuaded by all these other people that were so high on the Mavericks and so high on Cooper Flag. The team has never really made sense to me. Trying to put Cooper Flag at the three was probably never really going to work. Anthony Davis is hurt again. He's got like an Achilles tendinopathy, something like that. Something wrong with his Achilles tendon that is terrifying considering his injury history. Gafford and Lively have been, in and out of the lineup. They just they don't have anything that connects this offense at all. And the only reason that they're I don't think it's even good team defense. There's a bunch of really good individual defenders with size on the floor almost at all times. The connectivity part's not there.
You know what? I will give them credit though. I watched that Rockets game. I think that was last Thursday night. They still compete on that end in a way that is fundamental. Yeah, well, but that's fundamental to their defensive identity as well. So I don't think that they have completely lost the thread on that end. Like they're playing their ass off.
But I'm saying it's because like they have players that are just like good individual defenders. But I don't look at the Dallas Mavericks defense and then see the Oklahoma City one and be like, those are very comparable. Because the Thunder on the string and the Mavericks are just kind of chickens with their heads cut off.
Yeah, but I do think that there is, just from kind of a structural and component, their lack of having a rim protector right now is going to be felt so much more because their defense, unlike Oklahoma City's, was never about their ability to get out and push and make a lot of pressure and get turnovers. Their thing was always about kind of controlling, corralling, and protecting the paint. And
Absolutely.
that is why they're giving up so many points in the paint right now, because their defensive foundation is to funnel guys into the paint, but now they don't have anybody to protect the paint. And so I do want to at least give them a little credit where that's concerned, is like that is, but part of that is also poor. Look, I'm going to murder Nico Harrison for his decision-making forever, but like you built this defense around three very injury-prone big men. And it sucks with the Lively thing because now I'm concerned that this is just going to be a reality of the Derek Lively experience. But with Gafford and Davis, that was known. That's always been the MO with those two guys. Gafford plays too hard, and he has to because that's the core of who he is. So he's always getting hurt. Yeah. And Anthony Davis, look, as our boy Tavoris said on Threads, Davis grew up too fast, too late into his career, and his body had probably never really adjusted to it. And that may be why we're seeing all these soft tissue things. I think that is a phenomenal premise for what the problem is, but it's just the reality. We don't have to bury him. We can be honest about it, but it's the fucking truth about the Anthony Davis experience.
You knew that before you traded for him too, though.
Yes. Yeah,
this was
absolutely.
Always this. It's not like the Lakers were hiding some secret injury, and
they traded for him while he couldn't pass a physical. Like they two guys who couldn't pass a physical. That was like the most unprecedented. It's part of the whole conspiracy for me, but still,
absolutely. Yeah, I mean, I don't want to belabor the point. I feel bad for Mavericks fans. They've been through it in the last, and my team that's up is connected to this because it's going to be the Los Angeles Lakers, who are 7-2. Luka Doncic is thriving. Well, I mean, what I should really say is what's up is the Los Angeles Lakers free throw attempts over everybody else in the league. Because Luka is leading the league at 14 free throw attempts per game. 14.
Yes.
I do want to see.
Have you seen the team that actually has the greatest differential in free throws attempted and free throws relinquished? Because it's the Rockets, and it's not even close.
Yeah, but let's bear this out over an entire season. Also, let me shit on the Lakers because it's been them over the last 7 years. The free throw disparity between teams, they lead the league in it every year.
Oh, yeah.
And guess who's number 2 in free throw attempts per game? His teammate, Austin Reeves at 10 free throw attempts per game.
I mean, they get a friendlier whistle than an OnlyFans model going through like a construction site, but still, like
24 free throw attempts. I know they've both been in and out of the lineup. Like Luka hasn't been playing, so Reeves' offensive production ticked up, but still, 24 free throw attempts per game is what some teams would hope to get, like as a team, throughout a basketball game, and they're getting it from two guys.
Yeah, I mean, look, just watching the game, it's wild to see some of the favorable calls they get, and it's much. Yes, you still have Luka, you still have Reeves, but the argument was always how much pressure they put on the rim. It doesn't even feel like it's that when you watch some of the stuff Reeves is getting. I happen to have the Lakers as an up team as well. So before we kind of go further into them, can we talk about Luka's start right now?
I mean, I was going to make the joke about the free throws, but I mean, it's not the thing that's winning them the games.
Yeah.
What's winning them the games is the fact that they have an all-world prolific scorer in Luka Doncic, who's at 40 points per game. He was second only to Wilt Chamberlain in points in his first 4 games all time.
Yeah. Oh, and so
he with Wilt and you.
Yeah, he's one of, I think, only 5 players ever to generate 200 points in their first 5 games. He's generated 311 total points this so far through his first 5 games. Shout out to Tim McMahon, because I saw this on ESPN today. That's the most since 1996-97. His effective field goal percentage, 57.1%. His PER is at 33, which would be the 3rd highest all time. Amazing enough, Nikola Jokic is ahead of him right now this season because he's also balling out. And the biggest thing in this conversation with Luka, because the rest of this felt foreseeable. Look, we both picked him as MVP. We knew he was going to ball out. Luka's averaging 2.6 stocks right now. He's averaging 2 steals per game. He is engaged now.
He had a 7 stock game last game.
Yeah, he had 5 steals in the last game.
Yeah.
It's a long season. We'll see if he maintains this level of effort, but you and I knew that skinny Luka was going to be an effing monster, and good for him for showing all the other stuff we needed to see.
I really didn't expect it to be this seamless and this good already. And you want to talk about people that are thinking about needing to move a player who hasn't played yet, but the conversations around LeBron are getting loud. Because Reeves and Luka look like the future, and LeBron just, I don't know where he fits. Everything about this team is built around a Luka-styled offense. And he is passing the ball incredibly well. He's got a rim-running big who, all credit to DeAndre Ayton, as many jokes as we made about him early on in the season, he's been exactly serviceable to even good on some night. Well, I mean, he had that amazing game against Portland.
How about that Blazers revenge game? He goes for 29. And in a game where the Lakers
game, though, I will preface that I think he hated his time in Portland, and the team was like, "We're going to let you just rip the shit out." I mean, they had no other option.
It still gets to be a revenge game because it's not like on the way out Portland was saying glowing things about the guy they kicked out of the door, right?
No, I'm saying that explains kind of the offensive outburst, also considering that Luka was sitting that night. So he was like the third, second.
Austin Reeves didn't play in that game either.
Yeah. And they got Nick Young,
Nick Smith Jr.
Nick Smith. I'm sorry, Nick Young, other Laker.
Yeah,
I was thinking about Nick Young the other day. I was having a conversation with somebody. Sorry.
Were you talking about Iggy Azalea or D'Angelo Russell?
Somebody was asking about like the Nick Young gif, and they were like, "Who is that person?" By the way, yeah, the funny face and the smile and the
yeah.
And they're like, I was like, "That's Nick Young," and they're like, "Who's?" I was like, "Oh yeah, he's." And then I explained the Iggy Azalea playing on the Lakers, the whole thing.
Yeah.
Anyway, I had Nick Young on the brain.
While we're talking about that Nick Smith, that was during a stretch. I've got a bunch of random numbers for this Lakers because that they were the first team in NBA history to have 6 players score 25 points or more over the course of 2 games. That is, their offensive efficiency has been insane to watch so far. And the fact that it's carried over no matter who's on the floor tells you something about the job JJ Redick's doing. And mea culpa, JJ, I never said you were going to be a bad coach. I just didn't think you were going to be able to have enough runway to do the things that you've done in the Lakers, but you turned that culture around in so many phenomenal ways and have them playing an offensive brand of basketball. Look, it helps when you have basketball supercomputers that you inherited, but he's done a phenomenal job of pushing the right buttons and coaching these guys. Rui Hachimura shooting 47.2% from three. It's the third straight year he's over 41%. So this is legit. Like, this team, I still have questions about the defense. And
I was just going to bring that up. I'm glad you did.
And I think that when LeBron comes back, the defense starts to become the questionable issue because now you had three guys who defensively can be picked on any given time. But the flip side, when you're talking about LeBron being dealt, one, you don't
maybe not even dealt, just bought out.
But that doesn't make sense because the thing is,
no, it doesn't. But
go through this season because LeBron is such a phenomenal player, and we saw LeBron and Luka have such good synergy with LeBron being a screen and roller and an intermediate passer and those things. If you can still get him to do that at an exceptionally high level, he's going to do it in such a better way. And then if it doesn't work, you just say goodbye because you're not going to get anything from a trade.
I just want to point out that, like, I'm not saying it makes sense, but LeBron has such a relationship with Jeannie Buss, and he's such a singular player in the NBA that if it got to that point and he asked for a buyout and they couldn't find a real trade partner, I think they would do it out of some sort of like weird obligation to him.
About it's not Jeannie Buss team anymore. It's Mark Walters.
I know, but he like kind of carried the team. She's still there in some sort of like aspect of like the team. She's still somewhat there. She has an influence. Yeah. I'm just saying, like, the way that he carried the franchise, LeBron, I think, could get that sort of thing done where any other player, no team would ever do that. They'd be like, you're unhappy, you're disgruntled, you're sitting there, you're on this team, you signed your contract, deal with it. I don't think that anybody else could do that. LeBron's got the juice. Here's my thing. You cannot, it's really hard to trade a player with his price tag midseason. It's just the math really doesn't work.
So, and the fact that you don't have him under control going into next year, he's going to go anywhere that he wants to go. So what is the team that makes sense? I think LeBron is self-aware enough, though, to know that if he tried to abandon ship in this situation right now,
he should be helped.
It becomes a knock on his reputation. Now, everybody's always looking for a reason, so that's not going to be the prevailing sentiment, I think, that would guide him. But I do think he knows that. And if the Lakers are balling out without him, I think he wants to come in and just show how additive he can be to the circumstance.
I wonder, like, what that looks like. Is it like a 17 and 11 thing where he's kind of operating out of the low post, doing some ball screen stuff, and just kind of like playing like as the third fiddle? Because if that does free him up, his body and his energy up to play a little bit more defense, which we kind of saw. He had that kind of lull to start the season. He got injured, and then he came back and he was playing like phenomenal defense again. It's like he got rejuvenated. So it was like, well, he's an additive player when he's doing stuff like that. Now, with a body like his, at his age, can you really expect him to play that level of defense again? That's a big ask. And you brought up the defensive part, and I did want to bring that into it a little bit, not to rain on the Lakers parade because they're obviously playing great. They're 7-2. They're second in the West. There's a lot of it I don't trust. Gabe Vincent can't seem to stay healthy. Marcus Smart hasn't played in 2 years. And while he's been very good for them, I worry about his body breaking down if he's played too much. Vanderbilt's just really reckless. He's really hard to keep on the floor. Rui's got some tough lateral quickness stuff. He's really a lot of people
at his best when he has to guard on the inside. When he's out on the perimeter, it's a problem.
Uses his body and his size. But if you get him out on the perimeter, you can really make Rui look a little foolish. So there's just little stuff like that. But it's not detracting from the fact that the Lakers are incredibly well coached. That Jackson, he's getting the most out of Jackson Hayes. Jackson Hayes is a serviceable backup center right now. And most Lakers fan, if you asked them point blank last year, they didn't want him back.
Also, we went this long without mentioning Jake LaRavia, and we owe him an apology. Because Jake LaRavia has been balling out. He scored more than 25.
I should have brought that up.
He scored more than 25 in 2 of his last 5 games. He's shooting the ball really. He's been, you know what's funny? You and I didn't do this with Jake LaRavia because I actually had watched him enough in Memphis and Sacramento to think that he had a chance to be an additive player. But he was the type of Lakers addition where you're like, okay, Lakers fans, I don't need to hear about he's the keystone. This is the guy that's going to pull it all together, except for Jake LaRavia has been great for them, and he's mattered a lot. And he's really added to what they need, and they have good depth. Like this, Vando's doing Vando things. Like it's just good for the Lakers, whatever. I mean,
well, it's not my fault that they made me believe that Taylor Horton Tucker was the future and then that Christian Wood was going to be the answer. They do this to me every year.
Yes.
These bench guys get overhyped, and if they go literally anywhere else, they're never heard from again. They're not even on fucking milk cartons. You never no one's even missing them if they go to Utah or, Sacramento or Chicago or wherever. You never hear about these guys. LaRavia, I thought that was a good signing when they did it. It's a great price tag on him. I didn't really expect this, but he slots right into what they need. He's just kind of like a perfect outlet for, Luka drives that get stalled out, or when he gets double teamed, triple teamed. He's just a ready and willing shooter, scorer. He makes really good decisions, smart.
And they've even been, their second unit offense, they've run some stuff through him. He's bringing the ball down and doing stuff kind of in the high post and other things because he's a big player, which really helps in terms of being able to pass out of those situations or score. And like you said, he's a good fit alongside the other guys. And so what they've really done, and I think this was a smart thing from a team design standpoint, but I also think this is really representative of JJ Redick's offense, is they have guys who have this multi-dimensionality offensively where if they're just spot-up shooters, they're really – and this is why LeBron makes so much sense when you bring him back in, because they just have so many players that can kind of do on-ball, off-ball stuff that play a smart brand of basketball depending on where you're slotting them in because of how they run their offense and stuff, that LeBron makes so much sense right into that fold. It's just whether or not the ego and the body can hold up.
Well, and then also my concern is that all those other guys get frozen out of the offense because you already have two kind of ball dominant players in Luka and Reeves, but they're also pretty good passers. LeBron's a great passer too, but once you have three guys who are, if you can stagger this, great. But whenever the starting lineup, whenever the first quarter starts and all three of them are in there, what does that look like for the other guys? Does DeAndre Ayton start to shrink because he's not getting the touches that he's used to? Does LaRavia start to, get a little – does his shot get a little bit more streaky because he's not getting the touches? That's my question.
I think that's fair, but I also think that construct works a little bit under an older version of LeBron versus the guy that we saw last year. We've never
seen him have to be that guy before.
No, but we kind of did last year. That's my point. So he wasn't on the ball very much last year unless he was creating fast break opportunities. Most of the time he was playing a connective role or as a spot up shooter. And that's just my point, is a lot of what he was doing already in that situation is the stuff that's added into this. He's not the guy bringing the ball up. And most of the time, unless it's late in game, he's not the guy dribbling out the ball to get into things. He's actually really been deferential to Reeves and Luka already in that standpoint. So I think the spot up shooting and the connective passing is much more the LeBron we have now than even 2 years ago.
I'm going to push back on that a little bit. I think Reeves was the third banana last year and LeBron was number 2. Now when he comes back, I don't think you can shove him into a number 3 role.
But I'm not talking about in terms of their profile. When you look at ball control and who literally was handling and dribbling the ball more, LeBron was third in that pecking order already last season. That was already the case. Yeah. When they're on the floor, Reeves was the guy handling the ball more often. And so I think that it's not that your question isn't fair. I'm just saying that we have seen some proof of concept already to this with LeBron and these other two guys. That's all.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Next team that's down. What do you got for me?
Yeah. So let's go ahead and go. It's not going to be a team because, as I already said in the last pod, I've been cheating a little bit. But what in the Monstars is going on with Cameron Johnson? He is bad. And I don't mean sort of bad. This is the worst scoring average of his career at 8.6 points per game last night. I watched all of the Nuggets game until about halfway through the fourth quarter last night because I wanted to see them versus Miami just because of the stylistic fit. And then, of course, I had to go to OKC in Portland. He looks so timid. every time he takes a shot, there's like a visceral feeling where you're like, yeah, that's not going in. He's just all of it is weird. His shooting splits right now, 38% from the floor, 28% from the three. He's down to 2 assists per game from just last year. And what we thought he was going to be was this connective guy who was going to do all this other secondary, tertiary stuff. He's not doing any of that. He's averaging only 7.9 field goal attempts per game, which is his worst since his rookie year, but also just so weird. Like, this was supposed to be a situation where he was going to be getting a lot of shots. And the one thing that was funny, and I put this in my top 100 when I looked into his numbers, is Cameron Johnson actually doesn't shoot the ball particularly well as a wide open shooter. He shoots it better when he's guarded with some, not closely guarded, but guarded tight. As of right now, he's 25% on wide open looks and just 20.8% on catch and shoot opportunities. Oof. So the thing that he's going to get the most of in Denver is what he has done the worst, and actually has kind of tracked that way prior to this, which is very strange. Like, he likes a hand in his face. I've played with guys that are like that before, but in Denver, you're hoping that all these wide open, like Tim Hardaway Jr. is having no problem with this shot diet, but Cameron Johnson is chewing it like it's day old grape nuts.
I actually have a theory about this I wanted to pitch to you, and I just wanted to know what you think about this. So Jamal Murray is a notoriously slow starter to the season, and we've seen that the last couple of years, and then, he kind of rounds himself into shape kind of around, before or right after the All-Star break. He really starts kicking stuff in. Usually not that late, but he's been really good this year, and maybe that's because Christian Brown's also not been very good. Christian Brown, after getting his contract extension, has been a little rough to watch, especially on the offensive side of the ball. He still competes his ass off on the defensive side, puts the effort in. They need his on-ball defense to make the rest of the defense look better, because they're still not a very good defensive team. Cameron Johnson was supposed to help with that. It really hasn't gotten that much better. He's supposed to be this much better of a defender over.
Well, Cameron Johnson's defense since Phoenix has been an overrated part of it.
I think so too. But I'm saying that he was supposed to be better than Michael Porter Jr. I really don't see that big of a difference yet. So I think maybe just because Jamal Murray's been so good so early, some of the other guys are suffering a little bit. Bruce Brown, Christian Brown, and
Cameron Johnson.
Got you.
So it's really funny that you mentioned this, because I had the exact same premise. Because I was listening to something, I want to say it was Game Theory, but I was listening to a podcast a couple of days ago, and one of the other things they talked about is Nikola Jokic's touches are way down at this point of the season versus every other year. And I think you're 100% right. Now, I think there's actually two reasons. The biggest one being Jamal Murray is playing so well that I think they're deferring to him a little bit more, and it does kind of mess with the offense, particularly when we're talking about Jokic being able to distribute to other people. I also think they're now functioning with some players who, like Tim Hardaway Jr., bless his heart, that man is not going to pass up a shot opportunity. And so they have some guys that don't exactly fit how they play in total. Like Michael Porter Jr. was sort of that, but Tim Hardaway Jr. literally, I watched last night, it happened multiple times. One of Nikola Jokic's most potent weapons is he posts, kicks out, reposts, and then attacks, right? Mm-hmm. And in the first, I want to say it was the first quarter, he did it with Hardaway Jr. Hardaway Jr. immediately hucked up the shot. And I was like, oh, that's interesting, because that is not what the most effective offensive play in basketball is a Nikola Jokic secondary post, because he usually goes like this, right? And then it happened again, and I was like, oh, they're not going to see the floor again together. And I don't think those two were on the floor again together for the rest of the night. And it's just, they have all these offensive weapons that I think are now kind of trying to do their own thing and function within themselves. And it is messing with kind of a little bit of the continuity and functionality of the system. They're still awesome. I mean, Jokic has been amazing this week alone, but I think your point is absolutely valid. I think Jamal Murray being as good as he is actually kind of tripped up some of the other guys, which is weird, because all we've asked for is what is happening.
Hey, Jamal Murray, can you just play well to start the season?
Yeah.
So that we can see it early instead of you having to round into form. I know he's had some injuries and stuff that kind of hogtied him, but we were concerned a couple of years ago after he came out of the Olympics, where he had a bad Olympics, and then he started the season poorly after he got that huge 5-year, $245 million extension. We were like, uh-oh, what if like they just killed the remaining Jokic years with this Jamal Murray contract? But he's been awesome. He looks great.
I do think round into form is the wrong term, because the problem that I've heard with Denver of several years has been that he came into round form and
Yeah,
then
he
they
looked
needed him to
out of
get
shape.
into shape. And this season he looked, I mean, you can see it in how he's moving and stuff.
That was good.
He looks better, he looks healthy. They're fine. They're getting all the bench scoring they need. The two-man game with Murray and Valanciunas has been a lot of fun to watch. But Cameron Johnson, like, this is not what they signed up for. And if he
No.
continues to play like this, he can't stay in that starting lineup because he just becomes too much of a liability for what they need. And I don't know what the alternative is on the roster, because Peyton Watson obviously is not a good shooter. You can't really play Tim Hardaway Jr. in that starting lineup for the aforementioned reasons. Yeah, Cameron Johnson, can you come to Denver at some point? I think you missed a flight in
Waiting for you to
Houston.
show up, buddy. We
Yeah.
traded for this guy Cameron Johnson. You guys better hope he doesn't show up and come off that plane, because he's here.
Yeah.
He's been here the whole time.
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that. Yeah, love. Big fan of that. Love it. My team that's up. If I can go that direction, I want to talk about the Detroit Pistons.
Let's do it.
We haven't gotten a chance to talk about them yet. I've been promising
Yeah.
a couple of people on threads that we are going to talk about the Pistons. So I sat down and I watched the Pistons game the other night. Who were they playing? Damn it, I cannot remember who their opponent was, but they beat the brakes off of them with physicality, with strong defense. This team is 6-2, and they still really, like, their offense is still so bad, and yet they are smoking teams. I think they're third in defensive rating, but they're still eighth in offensive rating. But that leads them to be seventh in net rating. So that's how good they are defensively. Duran's been a beast. Cunningham's at like 25 a game, and he's almost at 10 assists. His shooting's been a little down. He's only shooting like 31% from three, and I think he's at like 44% from the field. I think he's going to figure all that stuff out. I'm not overly worried. The 3-point attempts per game is my big concern with their offense. I know that they're missing Malik Beasley. They brought in Duncan Robinson. They still got Tobias Harris. Cunningham was supposed to be that guy. They really haven't had Ivy either. Talk about a guy that's probably on the trade block. There's just sorry, go ahead.
No, I was going to say just to that. I mean, what's the trade market for Jaden Ivey right now?
I think it's a reclamation project for sure.
Yeah.
But I think it also could they bring in like a 3-and-D shooter for a young stud point guard that has had injury problems, but still very young and on a team friendly contract.
Yeah.
Anyway, not to get too lost in the weeds on it. I just love Detroit. I like watching them play. You won't believe. Oh, they were playing the Pacers. This is how I know, because they damn near got into a fist fight. No,
I'm shocked. The Pistons. Next, you're going to be saying that Boy Scout Ron Holland was involved.
Beef stew.
Yeah.
Got himself involved. Went over there and got involved in it.
Emphasis on the beef part of it. Beef stew, extra chunky, extra beef. Yeah. I do want to say something really quick, though. You know why their offense has been struggling? They are terrible in the first quarters of games. There's going to be a tie into this very shortly, but shout out to Aaron Johnson. But he was talking about this, but they are the second or third worst scoring offense in the league in the first quarter. They're I think dead last in field goal percentage. They're like second in turnovers in the first. Like, they are spotting teams a huge lead in the first and then having to come back into the game. If they can be a 4-quarter basketball team, they might be undefeated.
I mean, maybe that's just the way they like it. Maybe it's Detroit style. They like to play from behind and have Detroit versus everybody. Everyone's doubting them, and then they come back and win.
Instead of the sauce on top, they want the opponent on top.
That's really good. We're gonna call them the Detroit style pizza team.
Yeah, the Detroit style Pistons.
Detroit style Pistons. Yes, they love that, man. I really love the way they rebound. They're third in offensive rebounding. They create a lot of new secondary opportunities to score. With a team that struggles on the offensive side of the ball, it's really nice to get a couple of bites at the apple. They don't turn the ball over a ton. I think they're like 12th in turnover percentage. So,
Which is great because Cade has been really bad where that's concerned. So them,
yeah.
in his career, and so
I
that's a
think it's
big
also
plus for
for
them.
him being so damn tall. He gets a little loose with his dribble.
Oh
I
yeah,
think he's
yeah.
starting to tighten that up a little bit. But yeah, I mean, I think I'd
But
have
to
to
your
look.
point, that's tough. He plays upright and he likes to play in tight space. And so he's
Yeah,
always going to
exactly.
have a certain amount of issues with that because players are going to be able to get in his handle. And you don't ever want to take that away from a guy who's in the top 5 and drives per game and just kills teams by getting into the teeth of the defense.
Yeah, and also just to his credit, turnovers slightly down this year from it was last year. 4.4 last year, 3.6 now. So got to take care of the ball, obviously. But there's a lot to like about this Detroit team. I think I was higher on them than most people. Again, I'd have to go back and look at these numbers. I think we both were pretty high on them.
Yeah, but it was tough because
You had
their
them at
number was
49,
like,
and I had them at 48.
yeah, which we both had them over, but 47 was their number, right? Like it's not like we weren't
Yeah,
hammering it because that's just tough, especially for
but
a
I
team trying to
also
make another leap.
everyone was calling the Magic kind of like the dark horse team, and then after Atlanta made all the moves that they made, that we're going to talk about it. Trust me.
The Magic are a beat horse right
Yeah,
now, but
yeah, but they're yeah. So like it was Atlanta, like it was always New York and Cleveland, and then it was like who fills out the
ooh,
next
yeah,
couple of slots? It's Milwaukee. It was
Atlanta,
Atlanta.
Orlando.
Orlando. Detroit was always like fifth or sixth and lower. I was like, why don't they have a chance to be a top 4 team? And Milwaukee is looking a little bit more like it could be them. I still think I have a lot of questions about, their backcourt players, but I really like Detroit. I like the continuity they have. I like the players. I like their style. I think their identity is very well rounded and very solidified under JB Bickerstaff. Yeah, do I wish they scored a little bit? I wish their offense wasn't so ugly in the half court. Of course. I would love to see a little bit more of a free flowing offense. But man, they get out and run. They'll
Yeah,
run you. If you turn the ball over and they force some, they'll get out and run. They're they're a young team. They've got some young horses on their team. Not to make a Pistons joke there, but
they need one more shooter, as you said.
they need more 3-point attempts.
Yeah,
Also.
the Jalen Duren jump was wholly predictable, but he's been awesome. He had 22 and 22 last night. He's at
They lead
17
the
and
league.
11 on the season, and he's doing all the other stuff. He's still got some issues defensively, but he's gotten a lot better. And one of the things that I've really loved, and I think we've talked about this, is just like he's a player where watching the evolution of his situational awareness, which is like a term I always love to use, has
Oh yeah,
been phenomenal because you can really tell that he is becoming a smarter basketball player. Some guys just become better basketball players because of their athletic gifts leveling up. That has definitely happened, but he's also just so much smarter about how he uses his body in space, how he contests shots, how he tracks the basketball. And that stuff is really impressive to watch because he's already such, I don't know why I turned into Sylvester there, really impressive to watch. But all the rest of the stuff was already there. Like it was such a raw, there was so much phenomenal raw material that now we're seeing this beautiful kind of piece come together.
yeah. I mean, he had some like turnover issues because he kind of had some stone hands on some of these passes that were in tight spaces. He just couldn't quite corral them, and he would drop a lot of them and turn the ball over or knock them off his leg. They're number 1 in points in the paint. My only problem is if I looked at the team stats, which I only have the advanced stuff pulled up, but I'm pretty sure they're almost dead last in 3-point attempts per game, which I know is not like it's not the death knell that some people make it out to be, but I would like to see them shoot a little bit more 3-pointers.
Well, and the
Just
thing we
like,
do know is it does become a death knell once you start playing better teams because the
and if you
variability of
play
the
from
three
behind,
has to
which they
matter.
do,
Yeah, yeah.
they cleaned it out.
Yeah, it's harder for you to make up a deficit, and it's a hell of a lot easier for the other teams to make up a deficit against you if you're playing 2 to 3 on too many of those shots. That's just the
I feel the
reality
same
of
way.
it.
So yeah, that's just something I'd like to see change. But yeah, they still need more shooting. I'm not saying that, but I'm not saying they're championship level, but I'm saying that they could be a top 4 seed very easily because of how weak the East is, but also how well they're playing. So I've been a
Facts.
big fan of watching this Detroit Pistons team. Excited to see what else they do. And like I said, if they dangle Jaden Ivey out there for a 3-point shooter, a high volume 3-point shooter, and they take him, I don't have a player in mind, but they take
Jaden
him.
Ivey for Jake LaRavia. Who says no?
Jesus.
How about this? Jaden Ivey for Jake LaRavia and Gabe Vincent. Now, actually, who says no?
Oh, man. Oh, man. That's a really nice fit for.
I can't be the Picasso of the trade machine, but I'll gladly be the Michelangelo.
Yeah, I'm about to say, I'm thinking I'm finger painting on the trade machine, but that's fun. I'd have to actually. I'm going to think about that. I'm going to think about a Jaden Ivey trade for like a 3-and-D shooter, and like what his. Because you're right. You're talking about a deflated asset. He's definitely not as diminished asset, I guess, because of the injuries and just how well the team's kind of been playing without him. I really did like the idea of him and Cade running together, but I think we've seen enough of a sample size of Cade running without him that I think we're fine with this. And if you can get something that's an additive piece, an additive rotational piece for Jaden Ivey, I think you've got to make that move. I don't know who that person is, but I'm going to take a look at
it. And more importantly, we are not capologists, but one of the things we talked about that was something to watch with this Pistons team is they did not extend Ivey or Duren, who were part of the same draft class. And part of that is because I think they wanted to wait and see who was the player that they were more willing to kind of go all in on. And that is now clearly established. So that makes Jaden Ivey even more expendable in this entire conversation, because the reality was probably going to be that they weren't going to extend both of those guys come next summer anyways. And now it's Jalen Duren's bag to take.
You're saying they didn't take the Kings and the Magic method of just immediately re-signing people to the max with absolutely no negotiations? Here you go, Franz Wagner. Here you go, Paolo Banchero. Here you go, De'Aaron Fox. Here you go, Domas Sabonis.
Yeah, don't forget Keegan Murray. Don't forget Keegan Murray, who also got his bag.
We pay Keegan Murray because we have to make sure somebody else doesn't. Who the hell's the other? Whatever.
I love Keegan Murray, but you're right. Like, I mean, in fairness, there's an organizational tax that you have to pay when you're the Kings. That's not because you're a small market team. That's because of 25 years of bad precedent.
Hey, I'm a Carolina Panthers fan, man. We all know about paying the Carolina tax. If you want to put somebody here, you got to add a couple of $1 million on top of that contract. There's a reason we have an offensive line that's the highest paid in the NFL. It's also one of the best offensive lines, but we also had to pay for it. Yeah. That's how it works. And whenever you're a team that's been, you're functionally not good. Yeah. So, I mean, but like you can negotiate. I just want to let GMs know this. If you're listening to the No Gimmies pod, I'm sure all of you are, you can negotiate with players. You don't just have to extend them. So that's what Detroit did. It's very smart of them. They've done a lot of things right. They've drafted well. They built this team around their strengths. They still need a couple more pieces, but they can be feisty. And I like Detroit. So it's not, when it's Detroit versus everybody, I'm on Detroit's side. I'm not in the everybody side.
Yeah. Hey, we were both charged for the Pistons. So
yeah, I love it. I could do a down team. I mean, I could do a down if you want, or do you have another one that you want to talk about?
If you want to do a down, because we already doubled up on it. I'll do it. Yeah, go for it.
Well, we already talked about the Magic, but mine's Desmond Bane. And if you want to look at these numbers, it's bad. And
I was born not to make shots.
It's not been. I just want to remind people he was traded for 4 first-round picks, and just want to bring up his numbers here.
And KCP and Cole Anthony. Don't forget those two. Hey, Cole Anthony's at least playing okay in Milwaukee. KCP is, ooh,
yeah. So his career average is almost 18 a game. He's down to 14. Rebounds down, assists down, field goal percentage down, 3-point field goal percentage down almost 12 percentage points. His effective field goal percentage down 10%. He's been very bad. And the other night,
you forgot though, chippiness way up.
Way up. Actually,
Way up.
I had to bring this up because I wasn't. I mean, I remember the playoff chippiness stuff on the Warriors whenever he was getting in Steph's face and Draymond's face, and I thought that was just like, we're not going to be big brothered by you guys. Like, we're next, we're coming, and we're here to fuck your world up. I was fine with that. What he did the other night when he was god awful throughout the game,
Are
and
we
then
going to talk about the double dip where he managed to get a flagrant and a technical on the same play? Because that was phenomenal.
so he flagrant fouls and dropped. I think it was Mo Gay.
It was
He,
Mogay, yeah.
Yeah, he threw him to the ground out of bounds, grabbed him by his arm on a fast break, which by the way was just before that. The reason that he was so upset is because his little T-Rex arms couldn't stop a pass that was thrown over his head. Because if he had any other NBA player's wingspan, he's tipping that ball out of bounds.
Or a
or
Wendy counter person's wingspan.
So so Gay catches the ball, he fouls him, throws him out of bounds, and then tries to throw the ball off of him that's already been out of bounds. So he's fouled the shit out of him and then hits him with the ball and then gets in his face and points. I don't know. He's pointing a finger in somebody's face. I can't remember who came up and got in his grill from Atlanta. But then he's like pointing like almost a gun motion at him, like telling him to back up. And I was like, what part of this do you think that you're in the right about?
We do have to give him credit. It was impressive ball tracking for him to be able to execute all of that before the ball hit the ground. He committed the foul, tracked the ball, and threw it off him in like one swoop. It was the
whistle had already blown, which is why throwing the ball off of him, trying to get like
no. I'm not saying that he was trying to throw the ball off of him as though he knew what he was doing. It like the whole play. He wasn't trying to throw the ball off of him to get it in out of bounds play. He was pissed off about what happened. I think he just didn't want Mohamed Gay to give the Chet Holmgren treatment to him because we know Desmond Bane isn't going to be able to contest the shot. But
and then he's immediately ejected after that play because he's a flagrant and a technical, which sends him out of the game. And Orlando gets blown out on the road in Atlanta in another horrible loss for a team that is. I think they're now. How bad are they? Good Lord, it's.
While you're looking this up, can we just finally now accept that the Magic offensively have to I think Jamal Mosley's a phenomenal coach. I don't know what it is that they like. In the preseason, I thought I had seen some stuff, but you watch that offense, it's gross, it's ugly, it's a reflection of the fact that they have overly empowered their two big men to do stuff that now is no longer like other teams know how to defend them. So the shooting. Bain's numbers look like this because of the shots that he's having to take in a really bad offense.
Yeah. But
does that feel fair?
Yes and no. Because wasn't the idea supposed to be that like he was going to be more of an outlet for Banchero and Wagner to allow them to have the space to work inside because him and Suggs were going to be these, perimeter shooters hitting at a 40% clip. No one questioned the fit when the trade was made. Everyone was praising it. It was brilliant, but it was an eye-popping price tag.
But
the first round picks,
we also have seen
you give up.
What we're seeing that's part of the problem is, for as good of a passer as Paolo Banchero is, he would much rather work into a bad shot and then throw somebody like a live grenade and stuff. And the reason his assist numbers and things are down is I don't think he's making very good offensive decisions right now.
He's not making reads
with the ball in his hands. I don't think that he's doing the stuff that we thought was going to like. I still think Paolo is a very good playmaker out of those situations. I no longer buy the idea that Paolo Banchero can be your primary offensive hub as a playmaker. If you want him to do stuff as a playmaker, as secondary and third reads and stuff like that, great. But this construct for them offensively is not working anymore. It just doesn't work with those two guys having to be the downhill performers and spraying out to guys the way that we thought it was going to. And maybe it's because it's too much redundancy with those two guys. Maybe it's because they limit floor spacing because they're both bad three-point shooters. So if you have them on the floor at the same time, which you have to, it makes it very easy to defend a lot of the other shooters on the floor. But this offense is gross, and it's gross again. And all of us, this has been the craziest thing. This is probably the most universally incorrect thing across punditry in sports, has been what the Magic have looked like with Desmond Bane, or across basketball. Everybody was in agreement that this, at least on the floor, even if it was an overpay, was going to be an upgrade, and they're bad.
Yeah, well, I want to I would love to understand why the offense still does. Is it because Jalen Suggs isn't a good enough point guard to get them into their stuff? Are they asking Banchero to do too much, to carry too much of the offensive load? Is this still a carryover from last year where Banchero kind of just would, kind of dribble the air out of the ball for 18 seconds and then try and, make something happen on the offensive end of the ball? Are these just bad habits? I don't really know.
Yes.
It's those. Yeah. Because it's
let me lean into like it's a Senate hearing. Yes.
It's not even that the 3-point percentage. I think they're 23rd in 3-point percentage. They're 27th in attempts. They're still not taking them, and they're not. They were. I want to say they were dead last, if not near the bottom.
I think they were 29th in attempts last year.
So they were now they're 23rd in percentage. It hasn't gone up enough. It's everything's it's stagnant, and they don't have good rebounders. Wendell Carter, Gogo Batase, those aren't good rebounders.
Goga's a good rebounder, but you just can't play Goga enough because of all the other limitations.
15 minutes a night. You're not.
Yeah, exactly.
So they don't create secondary opportunities for themselves. I don't know. There's a lot of problems with this offense. And Jamal Mosley's, do you remember that face that Jason Bateman would make on Arrested Development when his son would talk about Ann?
Yeah.
He's just that's what Jamal Mosley's face looks like all the time. Watching the offense.
You mean Annabelle?
Yeah. Egg. I love
it. Yeah. Way to play it, Egg.
She puts mayonnaise on it, and she calls it a mayonnaise.
Mayonnaise. Isn't that cute? No.
It was
I think we need to get you glasses.
Yeah, I have not met her yet. And Jamal Mosley acts like he hasn't met the Magic offense.
Who's Desmond Bane?
I can't wait for him to get here. Love him.
Yeah, he's on the same flight Cameron Johnson is.
Yeah, are we doing a body switching thing? Is it Freaky Friday? Or has anyone checked on Lindsay Lohan? Is she giving somebody buckets in LA? Something's going on. I don't know, man. It's stressful. I feel bad for Magic fans because this was supposed to be, like I said, they were the hot team that everyone was really high on coming into the Eastern Conference. If I was looking at our stuff, I'm pretty sure you and I had them somewhere real high.
We
52 and 55.
That's not looking good
now. 5 right now, which is, I'm not saying it's insurmountable or this stuff isn't fixable, but everything in Orlando's recent past, has said that they are one of the worst offensive teams. And this predates Jamal Mosley, by the way.
Oh yeah, of course. But I mean, some of that had to do with the structure.
The personnel, I know.
Yeah, yeah. And even though some of that predates Anthony Parker, they've still had this kind of continuity of how they've built the team. My biggest question is how long until Mike Malone has the job?
Whoa, we're dropping some news on the No Gimmies podcast because that's fun. And I mean, the big question that I've heard on almost every one of these podcasts and all the national broadcasts is what happened to the defense? The defense has gone away too. And I know Bain isn't a plus defender or anything, but it cannot just be, we put Desmond Bane in.
No, but I will say that several people in Memphis, I think Chris Verno was one of the people, mentioned that the Magic were going to be disappointed in what Desmond Bane was as a defensive player, and that I thought he competed, but I thought he was just an okay defensive player. But now it's like he might just kind of not be a good defensive player.
Lack of wingspan is detrimental to him being a positive defensive player.
Tyus Jones, who is a minus defensive player. So no matter what, the reality is two of the biggest pieces you brought in to help you offensively detract defensively. And Philip Rossman Reich was way ahead of this in the preseason. He was like, what is going on? Like, we were not trying to make this trade where now we had a good offense and a bad defense. The idea was that we were going to supplement the offense and still be a good defense, and that just has not worked out.
Yeah, I'm not giving us any of my space on Anthony Black Island either. I just want to make sure that I'm clear about that. I'm still a fan of Anthony Black. I like him a lot.
Man, if there is a move where the Bulls could get him, I would be all for that, because him and that
would be. You want to talk about
that open court offense? Woo.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, and I bet his 3-point percentage the second he leaves Orlando will tick up. I know he's only at like 31% right now, but I bet he could get to league average 34, 35.
I can see the shot mechanics are bad, and like even as they've kind of improved, he just misses a lot of shots. His brother's coming up in he'll be in the league in the next couple of years as well, so it'll be interesting to see. But yeah,
love seeing families in the league. All right, we need one more. Take us up.
Well, I've got 2 ups and 1 down, so I'll do one of my ups because I didn't do an up technically so far. We just
technically you're right, you haven't, but I just didn't. I don't know. I was just shooting. We're at an hour and a half. I thought we were just cruising right now.
So this isn't intended to needle you, but my up team, what a difference 2 weeks make. The Portland MF and Trailblazers. Let's go.
This isn't needling me.
No, I just meant because of course they won last night. That's all.
Congratulations to them. Yeah. Hey, if you want to talk about a team that I'm okay with losing to, it's a team that has players that I love.
We're Blazers fans. We know this.
Tumani Kamara, Drew Holiday. These guys play my style.
Yeah.
And you know what? Big shouts to Tiago Splitter, friend of the pod.
So, it's interesting because I was watching that game yesterday, and my first thought was, one, you could really tell that the energy for the Blazers is just different. And Tiago Splitter is obviously an infinitely more positive presence. Some of this always, too, is just a new coach and the changes there. The offense it feels like this old school 5-out motion cutting, read and react offense. Every once in a while we'll run like a man-to-man thing, but it feels very simple, but they play it in such a smart way. And it's because of Tumani Kamara is a phenomenal cutter. And the way that he and Drew Holiday attack it seems, both one on the ball, the other off the ball, and the stuff that they do there, the ball movement has been great. And then Danny Avdia, look, I will never stop talking about Denny. This has been my guy for a while. The amount of pressure that he puts on the rim is effing insane. I put it up on Threads today. He's 5th in the league in drives per game. The company he's in right now, it's Cade, it's Zion, it's Luka, and Shea, right? Like, those are the only people he's behind in drives per game. If that doesn't tell you everything you need to know about what this guy is doing, look, 24, 6.5, 4.5. The shooting percentages from the field are down for him, but that's to be expected because of the additional workload. But defensively, this team is 2nd in the league in points off turnovers. They lead the league in assists. They're 3rd in transition frequency, and the only team playing faster than them is Miami right now. And so, like, they have all these phenomenal athletes, and we knew that. And the way that they are weaponizing those athletes is such a smart utilization. And then the guy that I have to shout out once again, we talked about him 2 weeks ago, but like, Jeremy Grant has been phenomenal in his role. He's the leading 6th man of the year candidate to me, as far as I'm concerned. He's averaging 20 points per game, and he's shooting 40% from the field and 42% from the 3. This version of Jeremy Grant is the guy that everybody was so excited about before, and all the other liability stuff because he's off the bench. So the just okay defensive play, the lack of rebounding, it doesn't matter to Portland.
Yeah. I also just wanted to point out, he's getting to the free throw line. I think he's top 12 in the league in 8.4 free throw attempts per game. So talk about putting that pressure on the rim. It's also just a great way to generate offense. Top 12 in the league is Denny Avdia. You want to talk about the people that he's around. You talked about the drives per game. The people in front of him we talked about Luka and Reeves. It's Antetokounmpo, Banchero, SGA, Keyonte George, Devin Booker, Şengün, Maxey, Siakam, and Wemby. Those are the only people that are getting to the free throw line more often than Denny Avdia. That's great. That's great company.
Did I hear you mention Keyonte George? Because my 3rd up is Keyonte George. I'm going
to ask you respectfully to save it, because we might actually have a podcast that's under 2 hours. And I'm really impressed by us for once.
No. So, I mean, we can talk about just Keyonte really quickly.
Awesome.
Because the lack of efficiency still bothers me, but he's been banging points in a situation they need from him. He's averaging 20, almost 23 a game. And more importantly, he's at 8 assists per game, which the question for him coming out of Baylor was what the playmaking can be. It's not always natural, but he has worked really hard to make himself a good playmaker, and he's now 9th in the league in assists per game. He's got to get better than 41% from the field and 26% or whatever from the three. But he's taking the leap that a lot of people in Utah were hoping to see from him. Isaiah Collier probably not being one of them. But shout out to him in a bad situation on a fun team, because the Jazz have been a lot of fun to watch. The Walker Kessler injury was gutting.
That sucks.
Yeah, because the shoulder injury just because of how they play. But Yusuf Nurkic is completely usable in that type of situation because they don't need to really. Look, we're not expecting the Jazz to be anything better than like a 30-win team, but good for Keyonte.
The Jazz and the Suns are both creeping up my league pass rankings as teams I want to watch. I haven't watched enough of the Jazz. No, I mean, they're fun for what they are.
Oh, no. I was just going to say, do you want to have a conversation about how much Devin Booker's balling out right now? Because, woo!
Yeah,
you tried to...
Is that surprising to you?
I mean, no, the numbers he's putting up right now should be surprising to anybody. I think he's at like...
They are bonkers, but I am saying that...
He's like at 30 and 10 at a 50, 40, 90 clip.
But we saw Devin Booker for 5 years be in Phoenix by himself. That dude is like a one-of-one kind of scorer, like especially...
But the distributing and playmaking has continued to exist, and that's something he's got better.
That's exactly the additional part to his game.
Yeah.
But yeah, I would love to talk about. Let's keep those. I want to hang on to those because we can record in a couple of days. Hang on.
But I got to get my one down because it's got to come full circle. So
okay, bring it down.
Because in the rare visiting both sides of the ledger, the Portland Trailblazers are also my down because the Portland Trailblazers, much like the Detroit Pistons, are god awful in the first quarter, and you saw that last night. They were abysmal. They were so bad in the first quarter of that Thunder game. For all the stuff I just brought up, they're 26th in the league in points per game in the first quarter. They're 29th in field goal percentage and 3-point percentage. They're 30th in turnovers, and they're 27th in point differential. Portland, much like Detroit, get your shit together. Stop spotting all these teams a lead. That 22-point comeback in the fourth quarter was phenomenal. You wouldn't have had to do it if you didn't suck in the first.
Yeah, that was a hell of a comeback by them. I mean, you got to give it to them. I make no excuses. We all know that like the Thunder were on the second night of a road back-to-back. They played, but they also got to rest their starters really a lot in the fourth quarter, and they've been resting Shea and those guys a lot. Yeah, they were missing some pieces. Doesn't really matter because Portland's going to play you feisty no matter what. So the Thunder should have known they were in for a dogfight. They had some weird lineups. They started AJ Mitchell, Kaysen Wallace, and Aaron Wiggins in their 2-3-4, which is a very odd, small lineup. But it's not like they didn't have other guys they could have put in there. Portland won that game. Out and out won it. And, sad for Isaiah Joe for hitting such a clutch shot, but having the Kevin Durant treatment, had his toe on the line, and ended up being a not tie game, ended up being down 1, and they ultimately lose by 2.
Well, he didn't hit the shot. It ended up being free throws, and so instead of 3 free throws, he got 2.
Yeah, you're right. But the toe on the line, ends up being a deciding factor in the game.
That's one of those really funny games where it means so much more to Portland than it ever does to the Thunder. And so, like, with the
Thunder, many people that were like, the Thunder are not going to go undefeated. And I was like, did you guys think that was a possibility?
Yeah.
I know that 70 wins is on the table, but damn, y'all, chill.
Yeah.
I don't think that, again, I said they were a 64-win team. They might take a small dip. They hit 70, holy shit. But really, the only thing that the Thunder are ever going to care about is, did we win our division? Are we the number 1 overall seed? And are all our guys healthy? That's what good teams think about. They don't think about, like, can we get to 74?
And they probably don't even care if they're the number 1 seed. So, I mean,
I think you just want that home court because we saw
exactly. Yeah.
We saw how important that was against Indiana. But that's the thing. Anybody who's coming out of the West more than likely
is going to have home court.
Number 1 seed or maybe even the number 2 seed in the West. You probably are a higher seed than your Eastern Conference opponent. But great win by Portland. Huge fan of them. We will talk some Suns. We will talk some Jazz. We'll talk some Hornets. We'll talk
I mean,
everybody.
we're going to cover everybody. It's a
Yeah,
long season, and we got a lot to say.
yeah, but yeah, we got a lot to say. But here's the thing: we're at a podcast where we're only at 98 minutes. I'm proud of us.
We haven't tapped out yet, so make it fast.
Is there anything that you would like to touch on before we get to our goodbyes?
No, we're good. Pay attention to your email. Something's always brewing. I got something coming up. That top 100 kind of blew me out for a minute, but I'm working on something for Saturday or Sunday. We're going to keep doing this.
Love it.
Sign up for the Basketball Intelligence newsletter and or that fleet of podcasts, because hopefully I'll have some stuff over on that side in the next couple of weeks, trying to line some stuff up with some interviews and things as well with some other writers kind of around the greater basketball world.
Could not encourage you guys to sign up for the Basketball Intelligence Network newsletter. It's an amazing thing. There's a lot of subscribers, a lot of content, a lot of stuff for you to read, a lot of stuff for you to listen to. This podcast is on there. Aaron's fantastic writing is on there. Please check that out. Thank you for checking out this podcast. Like, rate, subscribe, do all the things that you do. We always appreciate you guys. We have more stuff to talk about. The season's just getting started, and I'm going to put this out there now as an idea for you, and I want people to kind of be tuned in for it. Around the quarter mark of the season, we're going to say around the 20 games mark for most teams, I think I want to do a power ranking with you. Just do an entire episode where we go 30-1 and rank all the teams. Once we have a good sample size of what everybody looks like, we're able to get through the first, kind of the softer part of the season when everyone's trying to get geared up. I want to look at what 20 games look like, and then we do a power ranking and start from there. So please stay tuned for that. Just an idea I want to kick to Aaron.
Sounds phenomenal. I'll have my rankings started well before then, and I'll just keep adjusting.
Oh yeah, I bet I'll be tweaking it long before we get there. Got a lot of notes to get through, but we appreciate all of you for listening. Thank you for following us and listening to us and checking us out on Threads and giving us a reason to talk basketball. We love it. We love this game. We love talking about it, and we appreciate every last one of you for being a part of this. And we're going to end this podcast the way that we always do by saying adios.